It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail and Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And it sounds like I might have to upload a new intro. We had a few glitches. I don't know if it's the internet or what. But anyway, I'm happy to announce I'm here to have Mr. Dwane Kirkland on today, and we're going to talk about the best argument around for the right to travel. So let me bring Dwane on and we will discuss this very topic. Hi, Dwane.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. This is Kirkland. Before I start, I'm just going to give a little quick opening statement, and then we'll get right into the greatest argument that is credited to actually Carl Miller, my teacher, and we'll go through that. Gail and I will analyze that and share our thoughts and share the wisdom with you. But for starters, I want to let you know, for the record, for everybody in the world and in America, I want to read just a little part of my oath that I took so everybody knows about me, just real quick.
This was when you were in the military, correct?
No, this is the oath now from my Bill of Rights office. It's the same oath as the military.
Okay. Okay.
I never will give up the oath of I'm renewing. I'm basically just saying my oath that I took in the military is my oath to still continue until I die, basically. Okay? So I, Dwane Kirkland, U.C.C. 1-207, 1-308, a common law private American civilian, and one of we the people, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the Bill of Rights, 11 Bravo Team, 1 through 10 members and of our nation, and will, to the best of my ability, support, preserve, and protect and defend the Constitution for the United States of America against all enemies, and foreign and domestic. And I can go on to read the whole thing, but I'm going to go down to the bottom. It's got an affidavit on it. I'll have to share publicly a copy of this. It's great. It's all over. But anyways, that's just part that I want to let you know. I go by the oath and preserve that. Now, the document that we want to discuss tonight with everybody is a document that I kind of tweaked a little bit. It's the greatest argument that Carl Miller did in his PDF file. It's got case laws, and it's all pertaining to traveling freely and no driver's license and, the freedom of travel. But Carl Miller said in the videos and the teachings that this law itself, it took him this greatest argument took him 18 years and to fine tune this document that he has distributed for everybody and the case laws for the argument. So
does this mean, Dwane, that if someone else has this happen to them, they don't have?
This actually happened to Carl Miller himself. He actually utilized this, and then he helped other people, and that's what he started on, just like, but anyways,
that's how that works, isn't it? We have these experiences sometimes to be able to share them with others, to help others.
Oh my gosh, he beats them in every way you could think of, and I shared a few of them. But anyways, the document basically is just I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to read it to you, and we'll elaborate on it. But as we get further,
I'll bring it up on the screen. Okay.
Do you have it on the screen?
Do you want me to bring it?
Yeah,
I'll bring it up. Hang on one second. I just got to share it. So you can talk while I'm getting it shared up.
Well, again, I'm just thankful to be able to share this information discovery that we developed, or that not we didn't develop, but like I said, credit to Carl Miller. But we found this discovery and we share it to the masses, basically. So our Bill of Rights office does, anyways. And actually, this argument we're going to discuss tonight, this argument, you can apply any violation of any constitution. If you feel that you've violated whatsoever on anything when it comes to the Constitution, these are the case laws you want to utilize, because these are case laws that are in this writing, is the case laws that you can beat them in. And they're all supreme. They're all supreme case laws is what they are when we get in the depth of it. But all right, here's what he says, and what he that's credited to Carl. It says, "May it please the court, special argument developed. I'm going to get into a credibly special argument. This argument has taken 18 and a half years to develop, and I want you to pay attention and share this discovery and findings." It says, "This argument is a unique concept that has been honed like a razor to a very meticulous edge so that all judges and jurors and we the people can understand what is going on. Obviously, we have established that you have a constitutional right. The Constitution in the law, even the Supreme Court justices will tell that if asked in a timely manner, even in its Supreme case laws and Shepard citations and amateur prudence and constitutional law sections. And obviously, we have established that I am the beneficiary, you're the beneficiary, an American citizen is the beneficiary of the contract, and all people of the United States Compact Agreement is the beneficiary of the contract and warranty. We have established that the Constitution is a contract in writing, enforceable in a court of law, and that you have a right to claim specific performance on the contract. I have clearly made it clear of my declaratory questions on the record, even though not answered by the prosecuting attorneys and the police officer and even the judge well noted." Okay. I have established that it is supposed to be interpreted in my favor and my claim by any documents and verbal argument in the minute hearing and the omnibus hearing, and was still given a hearing to move forward, even though I made it clear if they move forward that I do not contract with them, and I told them if they move forward that they are moving forward illegally and without my permission and without giving a legal lawful determination of the jurisdiction and other pointed out questions. So basically, when you're in court and you're arguing traveling and license, you don't believe in having a license and all that, we've already established this in the first reading, that the courts are going to do whatever they want to do to you at the lower courts, because they're so corrupt. The only way you're going to really get them later is either by appeal, or sometimes you do come across a court that you do run into a good judge or a lawyer, and they'll stop the issue and they won't move forward. But a lot of times, the majority of times, they do move forward. Okay, so
That's a shame.
yeah, it's sad. It really is. It's sad, but that's changing. Okay, I really believe it's changing. So I have been honest, constitutional belief. They must listen. They listen, but move forward. Now, let us take that to the next step. Can a state arbitrarily and enormously convert your right into a privilege and issue a license and a fee for it? Obviously, no. Now, it's going to get into explaining what he says in this. It says, according to law, supreme law of the land, that's not in repugnant or conflict. Now, do you hear what he said? Any law, even supreme law or anything, is, I'll read that part again. According to the law, supreme law of the land, that's not in repugnant or in conflict. So they're going to have arguments, but they can't really justify it. It's basically fraud pursuant. It's basically pursuant to fraud when they try to go against your free agency to choose of traveling without a driver's license or be part of their contract. Okay, so example of the merits in harmony. Now here's a case law he brings right up in it's one of the main cases. It's called Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, 319 U.S. 105, 1943. Supreme Court trumps everything else. Now he's going to get into telling you a little bit about the merits and the disposition and the inside of the case, what it really says, right? So Murdoch is basically a religious test case. A religious group wanted to go out and preach among the public as that their right to evangelize, basically religious case, basically back in I think it was back in what year did it say? I said it was? I know several cases.
1943.
There's several cases. Yeah, there's even cases in 1960s. A lot of them, when the when they still had that issues about black going in the restaurants and all that. But it's a kind of case like that, several different ones. But Pennsylvania wanted, this is actually this is the famous Jehovah Witness case on this. This is what this one's about. I remember now. Pennsylvania wanted them to have a license to solicitate their religion, basically. The First Amendment says, the group claimed their First Amendment right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the right to worship and exercise their religion unencumbered. Okay? It says, the points on this case that are established are a state may not impose a charge for the enjoyment of a right granted by a federal constitution. It says, and that a flat license tax here involved restrains and advance the constitutional liberty of a press and religion, and inevitably tends to suppress the exercise thereof. So that the ordinance is non-discriminatory, and that it applies also to a peddler of wares and merchandise and a material. I had to decline that call real quick. Okay, so under the direct tax, direct writ of assist, and a bill of attainder and bill of paying, Article 1, Section 9 and 10. So that's why I always throw that Article 1. Get out of there. Bill. Hey, boy, get outside. Get now. Sorry about that. Get outside before I get you. All right, so you know how I stress all the time about talking about Article 1, Section 9 and 10, a bill of attainder? So basically, that's a direct tax. That's actually a traffic infraction, a proclamation. It's legal. And it's also about the legal fraudulent about the Federal Reserve notes. Okay, so Federal Reserve note is actually a legal bill of attainder, but we're not getting into that. It's not what we're talking about. But the liberties granted by the First Amendment are in a preferred position, since the privilege in question is guaranteed by the federal Constitution and exists independently of the state's authority. The inquiry as to whether the state has given something for which it cannot ask and return is irrelevant. Okay? It says no state may convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it. Now, a lot of people will come back to me and say, well, I'm not a part of that religious group, okay? It does not apply to me. But this is what he says. He says, you need to reach and understand we are not talking about whether you are in the religious group or not. It says, forcing me against my will with military police actions and repugnant laws, coded statutes, and my free agency to freely choose if I want to travel or not, or to contract, or have a license, or obstruct my life liberty to think for myself and travel freely with my modern property as a non-commercial duality of citizenship and the pursuit of my happiness. Okay? It says, I am talking about here is I am an American and do have rights, and I do have a free agency to choose without any third arbitrary parties, by force or scare tactics or governmental schemes. What that case says, that the religious group exercises their rights timely, that they had a right to worship and evangelize as they choose, and that the state came in and arbitrarily converted that right into a privilege and issued a license and fee for it. That is totally unconstitutional. I declare and believe my issue applies the same as an American claimed beneficiary. So basically, that was it Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Yes.
I don't want to lose my. Was that correct? Murdoch? We're talking about Murdoch, right?
Yes. You're right.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I don't want to say the wrong. Okay, so that it's so basically, Murdoch versus Pennsylvania says they can't take your essentials, basics of life, your fundamental principles, your amendments, articles, provisions, declarations of rights, and they can't turn it into a license. It says it right there. You can't turn it into a license. If they do, it's void and null, first of all, by law, and it's unconstitutional, declared by Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, okay? So I took that case as a pioneer case. It's actually a 1943 case. It's an old case, right? And I argue the case for all my declared claimed constitutional rights. So that Murdoch versus Pennsylvania can be declared on any of your rights that you believe that's being violated, okay? And so the fact of the matter, as an American citizen, basically says I am an American citizen or American. Says number one, here's the points he puts out. It says that I am an American and that I have constitutional rights. 2, keep in mind what right can I pull out of the Constitution And I can pull the right out of the Constitution, and I will give you an example. How about the right to travel freely and unencumbered pursuant to Sharpeau versus Thompson?
Yeah.
391 U.S. 618, 1969, this one is. How about the right to keep and bear arms? So he throws that in there. It says, 3, does the state have the right to require a license? Obviously, we already discussed that. They don't have a right to license it. They do because they're corrupt and nobody questions it and doesn't know how to fight it. But this case laws and this argument tells you how to fight it. Okay, so does the state have the right to require a license? No. And a fee for the exercise of the right? No. Only according to waiving rights and entering an unknown contract, and I sure do not waive any rights and do not contract without full disclosure. So that comes into that category where they trick you and you go into their contract. Now you're entitled to their say, right? So you got to lock that down and battle that right off the beginning. But again, you can use this argument for that. It says, I am bound to the Constitution in harmony. Let me scroll down a little bit. As the judge and the attorneys and lawyers in all government institutions and corporations and all under public acts and insurance by fiduciary omissions and errors. So basically, their own insurance says it. Their own public acts and charters say it. Anything in what it says in those parts, when you look it up and investigate, it's their where their powers come from. It says they have to be bound by the 10th Amendment, the civil rights, can't violate any of that, and they have to go operate according to the Constitution. They can't operate out of that, period, okay? That's where their powers come from. And that's in public acts. It's in their insurance papers. It's in their commercial insurance papers. If you read it and study it, you'll find it in there, okay? So, and if they do violate or move forward or diminish, it's a crime. I can ignore the license and fee. The premise of this case is clearly established. No state may convert a secured liberty into a privilege, issue a license and fee for it, and require you to have that. Otherwise, you committed a crime. Let's jump to the next case. Okay, it goes into Shuttlesworth versus City of Birmingham, 373 U.S. 262, 1963. Oh, this is one of the ones I was talking about. Let's see. This is another unique religious case. Okay, it's another religious case, but he's taking the merits of that, and you're applying your situation to traveling freely, right? And he's plugging it into it.
All right.
and so in this case, we're gonna go through the merits of this case. He's gonna give you a detail of what the case is about. So that way, if you're ever in front of a judge and that you bring up, you bring up that Birmingham versus Shuttlesworth versus the City of Birmingham, Your Honor, and you use that case, and the judge might, often half the time the judges ain't going to know the merits of this stuff. They're so ignored and ignorant as it is, but it's always good to know the merits of the case, because the judge might ask you and say, well, what is this case even about, Mr. Kirkland, or whoever this is that's bringing this to their attention? You got to be able to elaborate on what the case is about, and then plug your situation and show them how it plugs in. You kind of, because you got to expect that.
They want to make sure that you know what you're. They want to make sure that you know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Okay.
Essentially.
So, yeah. So it's good to read them and actually know some of it at least. Okay. All right. So he gets in that case that I just said says. Okay, came down in 1962. The city said they needed to have a license to have a public gathering. So it's another license in a small town or city is trying to enforce, right? So it went to the Supreme Court all the way, and the Supreme Court said, no, you don't have to have a license for the exercise of a First Amendment right to freely assemble, okay? It says the gist of this case is that, okay, it does have the old words, and it says Negro, but I'm going to say Black African American, or back then in that 60s, they used that word, the N word, okay? Ministries were convicted in the Alabama State Court of aiding and abetting in violation of criminal trespass ordinance in Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow.
Okay, this was the charges. It didn't stick, but that's what they were trying to do. The little city or town and county was trying to do that at the time. It says the only evidence against them was to the effect that they had incited 10 black students to engage in a set-in demonstration at a white lunch counter as a protest of racial segregation. So a lot of people will remember that case if they were born in that time frame. They remember that case was all over the news, and the students they went in there were protesting the racial segregation back then 60s or whatever. So it's good to know that. But anyways, I'll continue on. The court held that on the case of Peterson versus City of Greenville, 373 U.S. page 244, 1963, that the convictions of those 10 students for criminal trespass were constitutionally invalid. Since those convictions had been set aside and rejected, it follows that the petitioners did not incite, aid, or abet any crime or commit any crime, and therefore the convictions of these petitioners must be set aside, according to that one case. And it says, now basically what they were claiming was their constitutional right to freely assemble. The city was claiming that they had to have a license. There's that license issue again, right? Just like everything we're going through about the car licensing, right?
Yep.
We have to have a license for everything, right, Gail?
That's what they try to tell you. Yeah. If you don't, then
anything in the basic life essentials we do, they want us to have a license for it, so they charge us for equity, okay? But they can't do that. And this stuff that I'm going over with, you can utilize it in a timely manner, and you can put a stop to it. Okay, for not having a valid license to freely assemble and or protest, okay, it says. So now I want you to see the significance of this case in view of the case we just had. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania clearly established that no state could convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it, right? So basically, the freedom to travel without being violated or bothered, your privacy and many other things that you can list in there, Gail. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania says they can't convert this freedom to travel into clearly established that no state could convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license for it. They can't issue a license for it, okay? And a fee for it. And Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, Alabama said that if the state does convert your right into a privilege and charge a license and fee for it, you can't ignore the license and fee and engage in the right with impunity or impunity. So basically, you can declare impunity, just like the cops do when they drag you out of the car and beat you up. They got immunity or privilege or whatever. Well,
that is a problem. That is a serious problem, and that needs to be removed because they need to be held accountable for what they do. Because then they will think about it.
Well, Gail, what you need to realize is that is pursuant to fraud. That really doesn't apply to them. It applies to the American citizen. It doesn't apply to the government and the cops and the institutions because it was designed specifically to keep the checks and balance and the government of their limitations. That's an argument a whole by itself, Gail. Okay.
Okay.
So that means they cannot. That means they can't punish you. They must let you go. It is especially important that you understand first your Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and that you have the right, and that right shall not be infringed, and it is supposed to be enforced in favor of you, the clearly intended and expressly designated beneficiary. Now you can see where I pick up my words, huh, Gail?
Really? Yes.
My words? You see that? What am I always stressing to you? You're a claim designated beneficiary of the Constitution, right?
Right.
How important that is in your word game. That is very important. Remember that in that word game. Okay, it is especially important that you understand. Okay, he's even elaborate. It is especially important that you understand that no state may convert that right into a privilege and issue a license and fee for it. And if they do, Shuttlesworth says you can ignore the license and engage in the right with impunity. I'm not sure if I'm actually pronouncing that right. Impunity or immunity, but it's got a
impunity.
Impunity. Okay, yeah. I get impunity and the other word immunity mixed up on it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, let me give you this. Impunity means exemption from punishment or freedom from the injurious consequences of an action.
Outstanding. And guess what?
Means.
If you really want to know the legal, lawful determination of that word, not by a Webster dictionary, not by a liberal dictionary, not by some law case thing pursuant to fraud, go get your basic 5th or 6th edition Black's Law Dictionary, look up the word in there. And I guarantee you, Gail, when you look up that word in there, you're going to have several. You might even find these case laws right here in there. You're going to see the case laws that are submitted in there just specifically for that word. And you can argue all day long if you it's just remarkable how powerful the Black's Law Dictionary is, so powerful when it comes to the law. Okay.
The problem it's so much for people to comprehend in a very short period of time, because you always say in a timely manner. But the fact of the matter is, people aren't given much time. They try to railroad you through just as fast as they possibly can. So you don't have a chance unless you have resources, like you can afford to get an attorney, or you can get somebody in there that is going to back you up or whatever. It's it's a problem. It's all
It's
designed by to
it's
for
all
that reason.
collusion and it's all RICO acts is what it is really. It's collusion, RICO acts, and trickery, stealthy scheme at a state level and federal level. It really is. But if you don't know, Gail, what do I say all the time? If you don't know, it's what they say it is, right?
It is, and
So
they lie to you.
exactly.
Or either that,
So
or they just don't know themselves. And I wanted to put
so
that
so
out. Karen, let me say this, Dwane. Karen
go
put
ahead.
up that sending love. Dwane has helped me out immensely, and I thank God I found him. And I'm feeling the same way right now, Dwane, even though I've known you for a while, but I didn't have this issue at the time. So, people, this is real, true help. But you have to do a lot on your own in terms of reading and being aware of these things, because they will question you.
Yeah.
So
Well,
go.
that all goes. I'm sorry. You want, go
No,
ahead. I'm
I'm
sorry.
done. I said go ahead.
Okay, so that just brings, before I read on, I'm just gonna elaborate, because what it comes down to is the most important things is, first of all, they like to rush you through and trick you. Okay. If you don't know, even if you do know and you question it, they still go forward anyways and they trick you. Okay. So the only way by experience that I'm figuring this out is, the only thing that seems to work with people that I help, many people, is those 9 pages of that supremacy law that I shared with you, and even Karen
Yes.
that just mentioned something that she just said, that supremacy law, of that law that I shared, the 9 pages constitutional law. That is gold. I mean, because whatever they do to you, you can look to that and you can do an objection, and then just on the objection, on one item out of the off those pages, like
Mhm.
you can, if you have enough knowledge, you can object and say, hey, uh, I, I want a legal lawful determination of your justification, and that throws them for a loop. But you have to trap them back. You got to do what they do to them, Gail. You got to trick them, and you got to do the exact same things that they do.
Wow, that's
So
hard. Yeah, I mean, anyway.
it's not easy, and some people can see it, that are gifted, that can see it and how to do it. Like, I know how to do it, and I can't
Mhm.
explain to you except for I believe I'm blessed.
Well, part of it
But
is you know the material extremely well because you've been through a lot. There's nothing like experience. Now I have a little bit of experience,
yeah,
but I've always felt a little bit. It's easy to get intimidated in a court. They have
right,
the judge sitting up way high, like he's some god or something, and
exactly.
looking
But
down
but
at you.
but you know what? I shared enough information already that you know how to put a judge in check now. I melted judges over Zoom hearings and over just to the phone. I melted a Texas judge. I literally, uh, just on Article 6, Paragraph 2, I melted him. And just bringing that up and say, hey, you're subject to high felony treason now. There's 2 or more witnesses. We had 10 people on the Zoom hearing, and he just melted. I mean, yeah. So, but
Well,
okay.
that's what it takes. We need to do more of this kind of thing. More people need to do more of this kind of thing. And you have Bill of Rights headquarters in all the states, don't you? Or just about all of
Well,
them?
I'll
You're
guarantee
working
you,
on.
I've helped one. Listen to this. You're not going to believe this when I tell you. I have helped at least 1 or 2 people in every state of the union. Okay, that's called me, that I had some behind the scenes of helping them either on a dismissal, grounds, or argument, or an objective. Period. But there's like 15 to 20 of them at 2 years ago. I had a whole complete team of Bill of Rights office. They were each client I helped were operating out of their house, and they were claiming to be part of my team. And I had a letter with their name and what state they are in the Bill of Rights office. And we had an intent letter that I send out before I help any client. I said, send my letter out of our offices and let them know that who is watching now. And that letter was so powerful, Gail. we got cases dropped before even battling with them. We sent the letter out to a mental health hospital in Billings, Montana, and Hollywood, Florida. We sent the letter out, and we
Wow.
got people out of Hollywood, Florida, mental health hospital that you don't ever get out of. Ever. They don't get out once you're in there. You don't get out, okay? And that's just
Wow.
two of the ones. So anyways, yes, I had a real good team, but I couldn't hold them together because they were all conflicting on religion. They always brought religion up in it, just the name of God or a part. And it's like I did my best to keep them together, and I just finally said, I'm just going to continue on. They can do whatever they want to do, and I leave it at that. But anyways, yes, I do. But I still have my office, and I still have other people involved. But I'm pretty much solo again. You know. But anyways,
Boy, do I know that feeling.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm not really solo because I know how to. I know how to. There's a lot of things I know how to do, but I'll tell you what's important. I know how to move an army from point A to point B, and I'm going to tell you the truth. And you're experiencing it right now with me helping you. You can move we have a whole army of resources and protections at our fingertips, but we don't know how to use it. Do you remember me on the last video telling you, I'm going to show you how to control every law as far as your eyes can see with that little tiny booklet, remember?
Oh yeah, the
And it's
Constitution.
true.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's true. And we're gonna all right. So I'm gonna continue reading on. So I get see,
Okay.
you got me going. They got me going, and I'm sharing that.
Yeah, I don't even remember where we left off here. Where did we leave off?
Yeah, but anyway, back to the greatest argument that Carl has created. Okay, in any criminal elements, you must prove that number one, you are the party. Number two, that you had a method or opportunity to do a thing, and three, that you did so with a willful intent. Okay, just on that alone, that's basically the four elements of a crime. That's the way I see it. Okay, if you search and research and study what is the main elements of a crime, and there's four elements. Some of them will just say three, but I believe there's four, and we can share that one of these times. But I'm going to continue reading on. So now when we get into willful intent. Willful is defined as an evil motive or intent to avoid a known duty or task under the law with a moral uncertainty. Okay. So,
Okay.
anytime there's a crime, you got to have willful intent, Gail, right? And willful intent is you have to have willful intent. If you don't have willful intent, there's no crime. Period. Okay. Remember that.
How do they prove? Well, okay, we can discuss that another time. But I'd like to know how they can prove willful intent.
Well, that like premeditated evilness. A good example, willful intent, is the judge. How he's using the operating the color of law, and how the judge uses repugnant laws to justify his actions, and nobody questions it. But
right, and plus he financial incentive too, as far as I know.
Okay, equity involved. You can say he has evil intent for equity. Okay, that's good. I mean, I don't see why not. But there's got to be some kind of evil intent. And evil intent, if you really want to know the definition of it, look it up in the Black's Law Dictionary. Look it up on the definitions of different law definitions, and you'll see what evil intent is. Okay, they give you many examples because evil intent is based in several different types of crimes, Gail, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see.
I keep losing our place when we.
Yeah, this is not numbered like on. This is only numbered on the pages, so I could get lost real easy. It says, since the burden on the prosecution is to prove that you did willfully and knowingly avoid a known duty or task under the law with a moral certainty, he cannot perform that task because you obviously have your constitutional immunity to that. So basically what they're saying is they really have nothing if you're using the Constitution, because if you use the Constitution and you're following the Constitution, you have no evil intent, no willful intent on your defense. Okay.
So yeah, really interesting.
So anyway,
I'm hearing an echo back for some reason.
Oh, it's probably too loud. Okay. Let me know if it still continues, and I'll turn it down a little bit. Let's see. Okay. So if they pass a law in violation of your Constitution, The Constitution overwhelms the state law, so the law does not even exist in law, right? You've learned that already. But nobody knows that. Nobody questions or knows how to do that. Okay, they don't know anything about it. But it's really simple. The only reason I know this is because I actually read the law on this. Okay, that's why I know that. I'll read it again. So, if they pass a law in violations of your Constitution, the Constitution overwhelms the state law, so the law does not even exist in law. Now, you want to know? Would you like me to share with you the legal lawful justification just based on that sentence alone?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the most famous case in the United States history of law. Every attorney knows it. Every civics class knows it. Every civics teacher in basic civics and government knows this law. The law is called Marbury versus Madison.
Oh yeah, I even know that one.
Marbury versus Madison, 1803. Now, those dumb judges and lawyers are going to object to it, and they're going to try to say, no, it's been overruled in Supreme Court cases. But that's a lie, Gail. There's no report clerks recorded that this case has ever been beaten in the United States for 200 years. It's never been beaten. Okay. This case came out 1803. It's never been beaten. Whatever's been applied to has never been beaten. I want to tell you that. It's never been beaten. Okay. The case says that I can get into the merits of the case and telling you it goes into about shifting of power from a president to another president and breaking it down. But I don't want to get into all that. It's good to know that stuff to get an understanding of it. You have to read it and understand it. But the whole simple fact of it, when it comes down to what applies to us on the basic repugnant and void laws, what it comes down to. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready, sister? Are you ready?
Let her rip. Let her rip. Yes.
Okay. What it says in the disposition of the famous John Marshall juror's opinion, what he wrote. I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have a photographic memory, but I'm going to paraphrase what he wrote in that case. He wrote in that case that any laws that are in conflict with the Constitution, I'm going to throw a little extra in there, conflict with your amendments, your provisions, your declarations of rights, your at a state level and federal level, blah, blah, blah. You always hear me saying over and over. If it's in conflict in any way, any clause, any word, any part, it is void and null. It's not law. You hear what I said? It's not law. Now, can you
see they say it's law,
that?
they'll quote the statutes and codes right there and tell you, well, this is state law. This is what, blah, blah, blah. And
but Gail, what did you learn so far about that? What is the first thing you'll do? You object in writing, and you say, I request for the record a legal, lawful determination of the justification of these codes, statutes, and regulations and rules. It don't matter what rule it is. It don't matter what it says. This is how I'm telling you how you can beat any law. You see how simple that is? You see how simple that is?
Yeah, say it one more time.
Anytime a judge or lawyer is using a code or statutes or regulations, the only thing you got to do as an American citizen on the record in writing is demand for a legal, lawful determination of just their justification for utilizing that code based on for their actions. Okay? So when they utilize that code, the code, they're not going to be able to give you a legal, lawful determination if it's in conflict. They don't like to give you that. But if they do give it to you, you're going to have to read what they gave it to and go read the law that they're using. And I guarantee you, the laws that they use on their justification is bull crap. It might pertain to talking about some shoes or something. It's not going to pertain about the issue. Okay? So you have to demand for legal, lawful determination of jurisdiction, and they have to give you that. And then all you're going to do is object to it and say, I declare a declaratory judgment on that code. Boom. You just created a whole court system just on that code to be heard to justify that law when you know it's not law and it's in conflict. I know it's going to be hard for people to not understand that, but that's the way it is. All right. So I'm getting way out there. Not them going to be able to understand that with some more depth of it. But okay. Now, since the prosecutor does not have a cause of action for which relief can be granted, Your Honor, would it please the court, counsel is specifically precluded from performing his major task. Therefore, Your Honor, would it please the court at this time, I would motion most graciously for a dismissal with prejudice for failure to state a cause of action for which relief may be granted by this honorable court. And I'd kind of like to collect my cost and fees for having to defend this patently frivolous and spurious complaint, sir. May it please the court. That's kind of cool. So,
I can tell you're experienced.
This argument, huh?
You can tell you've had experience with this.
Yeah, and it's funny because I got a flashback on that one case in Montana when I won it and got it dismissed. I did submit a bill to the court. I only submitted a bill for $200, and she never signed off on it. She just ignored it, and I didn't care. They were just leaving me alone. I didn't want to battle with them anymore. But I could have went and sued them, for even more money. But I didn't. They left me alone. So that's what I wanted. I wanted to be left alone. But now,
so do I. Why can't you just leave me alone? I can honestly say that I've spent most of my adult years or a lot of them in the recent past, in Arizona and Nevada. And in Arizona, I swear they have every car I ever had. They managed to steal from me, and take my property, go through my property, and then send it someplace where I don't have the resources to be able to get it back out or to replace it, and have to be handicapped for as long as it takes to get another. And in fact, there was a smart remark made by the cop this recently about, well, I guess it's pretty expensive to do it this way. In other words, we can punish you financially enough so that maybe you'll just stop standing up for your rights, is what it boils down to.
Right. All right. Well, since you brought that up, before I continue on reading this, I want to share something with you real quick. I'm going to try to make this short because I can get into real long on this. I was in that Oregon standoff when they killed that Lavoy Finnegan.
Oh, wow.
Down in Oregon. Remember the standoff at the refuge there when all the constitutional people were showing up to try to give assistance. And well, anyways, I got pulled over and intercepted before I got down there by the state troopers because I didn't have a license, legal license plate number, no driver's license, no insurance. So they swooped up on me, and I'm thankful that they did swoop up on me because they want the FBI and Obama's team at that time wanted to intercept me and get me to that airport and ship me off to wherever they're going to fly me to. That was because they did that to other people.
Wow.
But my point is I got arrested, and when I got released within 3 days, Gail, I got out and I was in a motel, and they took my car, and I didn't have no money. They took everything from me.
Yeah.
I wrote a quick email to the prosecuting attorney in that town, Harney County, I think it was. I can't remember at the top of my head. I think it was Harney County. I contacted the prosecuting attorney by email and by phone, and he got on the phone. I talked. I said, "Hey, look," I said, "I want my damn car back." I said, "If you don't give me my car back, I want my guns back and I want my car back." I said, "If you don't give it to me, I'm going to pursue a lawsuit, period." And he says, he goes, "Hang on, Mr. Kirkland." He puts me on hold. He takes off for a little bit, and then he comes back like 2 minutes later, and he says, "Mr. Kirkland, you can go pick up your car, and I don't know nothing about your guns, but I know you can go pick your car up. They're guns the FBI has. You got to get your guns from the FBI later or whatever. Just go pick your car up. We'll pay for the fees for it to be released." And he told me where to go pick my car up, and I went to go pick my car up, okay? And that was just based on contacting the prosecuting attorney. So what I say to people when they take your cars and your property, write your pain and suffering down, submit it to the prosecuting attorney, your pain and suffering letter, and request for your property to be returned. Try it and see if he releases it or not. You might get a good guy like I did, but I don't know the true motive reason why that prosecuting attorney, I can elaborate and give you a reason why I think he let my stuff go, because they couldn't charge me nothing within 72 hours. They had nothing on me. They thought I was some big felon guy with guns, and they're gonna get me or whatever, and it backfired. But anyways, I don't want to go too long on that story, but I'll continue on. Are you ready? Let me go on here. It says,
Yes.
so let's see, where did I leave off? We were talking about willfulness. It says, obviously, we didn't do any crime, and the flip around the demand for you to. Wait a minute, I better go back. I think I went too far down, huh? Okay, so this argument is a killer argument. It is good for every single constitutional right you have got. All you must do is fill in the blanks. What constitutional rights? Prove you have the constitutional right. Tell them that the state does not have the right to convert the right into a privilege, and they cannot punish you if they do. And then claim that the prosecuting attorney cannot prove willfulness. So obviously didn't do any crime, and then flip it around and demand for you to dismiss the dismissal, which is your right, and get your cost and fees for having to defend the frivolous case. And may it please the court, and promise you will be amazed at the results. This is what he's saying in this. And these things have personally happened to me. I can relate the exact cases that goes for practicing law without a license. So he starts to get into about they always try to get people for practicing law, and he says this same argument can be used for practicing law too. Okay, so practicing law without a license. Obviously, you have a right to work, the right to contract your labors as you see fit, not as some arbitrary and conspicuous bar association sees fit. If you do not want to belong to the union, that is your right. You are in a right to work state. The bottom line is this: they cannot compel you to have a license or pay a fee for the exercise of your right. And if they do, you can't ignore the license and engage the right with impunity. That means they cannot punish you. And since you have the perfect defense for the elements of willfulness, they must dismiss, do not have a cause of action. All right. Real quick, what I want to say real quick is, you remember how I mentioned about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, Gail? Do you remember that? Do you remember hearing me mention life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness? Are you there?
I'm sorry, I muted myself because I had someone called and I had to shut off the phone, so I muted it so you wouldn't hear it. But anyway.
Okay. What I'm trying to say is, I was telling you about, beside reading that part there, I wanted to elaborate on the life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The First Amendment alone, you can plug your own situation into the First Amendment, into the principles of the First Amendment. If you believe anything's violating your life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, you can use the First Amendment all day long on the principles of that alone, and then also on the Fifth Amendment. So I'd advise you to read.
Yeah, I had that done to me so many times in Arizona. It's not even funny. This is a very corrupt state. I have. I would like to know how many people have actually had their cars taken away from them. Now, people that are on the lower economic echelon, they can't replace those cars. And the state has the audacity to take them from people and turn around and sell them. And the tow companies, they got contracts with them. It's all it's corrupt. It's pitiful.
Yeah. You want to know where the damage, how it hurts us, the country as a whole? Do you want to know where it damages the most?
Where?
You want to know how all those homeless people,
mm-hmm.
all the homeless people all starts out with a traffic infraction from a police officer. That's where it starts. If you ever talk to homeless people, you go all the way to the beginning.
I haven't, but I can see how that could happen real fast because it almost happened to me.
It's true. It's true, because I'm the perfect example of that. They made me homeless.
They made me homeless too.
Living under.
I
lived underneath a tree in Montana, and never could borrow money. They just like red tagged me on everything. Yep. I could never better myself. I had to work for myself, but I was more happier. I worked for myself. I climbed trees for a living. I took my skills in the Army from rappelling. I learned how to climb a tree, make $300 or $400 in 20 minutes. I made money that way. Climb a tree with a saw, go up and cut some limbs off over an overhang on a roof, Rappel down, collect $300 and clean the mess up. And I started a business like that, and that's how I survived. But anyways, let me continue on.
You want to finish
But
up?
yeah,
We're
that's
coming up on an hour. Yeah.
okay. Let's see. All right, now the word willfully. Okay, we'll see. Let me scroll down. I'll skip a little bit and just go down a little bit more. Okay, so nor any elements of a crime, courts are not to take a basic, essential, alienable declared right and turn it into equity or convert it into a crime. It says the infractions, writ of assist, and a bill of attainder, and declared by any beneficiary, an American, in agreement by contract, law, or any repugnant code, statutes, and proclamations, and orders, and police policies. Bill of paying is illegal. No legislative can abrogate or diminish, break down supreme laws at any level. They are to know the law and make the laws that are not in conflict. The judges, the lawyers, and the police officers are to protect the guaranteed supreme laws of the land and bound to the oath of their office and the promise by their delegated authority. Even supreme laws that are repugnant laws, if any, are claimed. No institutions can make laws in conflict with the American people's contract that is guaranteed. May it please this court, or whom it may concern, this matter should be closed. Thank you, Dwane Kirkland. And of course, you scroll down, you see my ugly face on a picture.
Yeah,
and
it
then
didn't show up on my page.
Huh?
The picture didn't show up on my page for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, most of my documents you'll see it or on the internet stuff, but then in small fine print where you need a magnifying glass, I wrote all collected facts and research is from Black's Law Dictionary, Amateur Prudence Constitutional Law 97 and 16th, and Shepard citations of Supreme case laws that trump all. If anyone wants a full report, please ask. It would be overly exciting to share the findings and discovery on the actual law. My favorite case law, Marbury versus Madison, 1803, the famous John Marshall disposition and dissent, and of course, my teacher, Carl Miller, one of the greatest soldiers of our time, Bill of Rights office out of Arkansas and our great Montana, Texas, and all sister states in harmony. Each case in relationship to the merits can be shared. Kirkland's appearance on show. And I put your video on the bottom of our first video I made with you.
Oh, okay.
And Rumble.
Okay. All right.
So,
well,
all right.
We went through that, and that will be available for people to look at and to re-listen and learn this terminology and case law and be familiar with it, myself included. And we need to start standing up for our rights, everybody. We've had these rights basically taken away from us based on the color of law, which is based on, in my opinion, the corporate United States, which has now been bankrupted in Tallahassee, Florida in February 21. So they will continue to act as if they can do whatever they want if we don't ever stand up to them, is what it boils down to. And it's a scary process, but it's worth it.
All right, hey, Gail, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's important to stand your ground, even if you're shaking in your boots. It's doing it. That's right. That's where I'm at anyway. And I don't know. It's just intimidating, is what it is. And the better you know something, the easier it is to stand up for yourself.
Right. Okay. I want to stress one thing before we go. One more time. Are you there?
Yes. I'm here.
There?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I want people to know, and I want to just express how important this number one case law of the world for the United States and for the world, as far as I'm concerned. This case is so important, Gail. You can stack bricks all the way to the moon and back. That's how important this case is.
Well, I'm going to have to write this one down. Let me get my pen and paper handy.
Well, I'm just going to give you the right correction of what it's the case itself. but we already talked about it. But
Oh, okay.
it's the Marbury versus Madison case.
Oh, that one, yeah.
1803.
I'm actually familiar with that one. But now I had somebody
Okay.
said that was overturned, or that it was somehow there's some other law that.
Yeah, but that's not true. They say that all day long, but you know how to deal with it now. You can declare it and argue it, and I guarantee you'll win. All right, Marbury versus Madison, 5 U.S. 137, 1803. So remember that. It says, if any statement within any law which is passed is unconstitutional, the whole law is unconstitutional by Marbury versus Madison. So remember that.
There you go. Well, we need to stand up for our organic rights that were employed when we had a constitutional republic, which is what we are reestablishing. Would you agree with that?
Right. Yes, I agree. Well, what comes to mind when you said that is there's a distinctive difference between when they say that you hear them always on that you always can watch somebody when they're talking like CNN and news. You can see who the enemies are based on their words when you listen to them, and that's how I figure them out. They'll say if you listen to any, even in the congressmen and senators, when you hear them say democracy, they're endangering our democracy. You very very seldom hear one or two people say constitutional democracy
Or
or
constitutional republic. They don't say that.
Even constitutional republic is they're all on the same side. You must hear constitutional democracy. That's the difference. The other ones are all demonic democracy.
Well, that's why
mob rule.
Okay, that's why I always thought it's. I don't even like the word democracy at all. It's mob rule, and it's also ruled by the people that have the money because they can control those numbers. So that's why I've always felt that constitutional republic was the correct way.
When you hear democracy, Gail, when you hear democracy by itself and nothing else, that's the mob rule. Those are the ones you don't want. Those are the enemies. Remember that, okay? On the news, when they just say our democracy's in danger.
Yeah, right.
If they're not saying constitutional democracy, there's a whole distinctive difference. You can look it up. That's a whole bunch of videos alone on that alone. We got material on that. But I'm telling you, we are a constitutional democracy. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, and I don't know if our listeners know this or not. I'm sure somebody knows this, but I'm going to tell you right now, that democracy, demonic democracy, is all in correlation with Germany. If you look the history of Germany, you know what Germany, the country democracy, it's the same democracy that they're doing right here in the United States right now. Do you remember when Hitler was in charge in the war and all that?
So much of that is filled with lies. So I don't know what to.
You know what their party was? Democracy. Their parties were democracy parties. So just remember
interesting.
That. So
wow.
Anyways.
Alrighty then. I guess we better close. We got a full hour. We were going to try to keep it to a half, but it wasn't possible.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But no, don't be sorry. We shared wonderful information that can be very helpful to people, that people can use to stand in court with and deal with some of these infractions that they put on us that basically are a part of ruining our life and setting us back, making us start all over. If you get, it's outrageous. It's wrong. It's evil. It's dark. So there's a way out, and the more of us that stand up, the better off we'll be. And I would like to put in a picture. I could really use some help. I try to put out as many videos as I can. So this is a listener-supported channel, and I can't do it without you. So if you're able, I would really appreciate any help. Plus, I do have a lot of very good products listed as well. And I have to thank Dwane very much. He has a lot of different documents that can be very helpful for you. And so we're going to continue this, and we're going to educate you on the use of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, which is what we need to be standing with right. Thank you, Dwane.
You're welcome. Thank you. Love you all.
And love to everyone, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, Gail.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now, don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show